I heard lots of good comments.
Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
appreciate your observations for sharing them with me. Like, I can get back to you.
Used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking fusion and flow.
Oh,
They're duly noted. I really
you
appreciate
shouldn't get close to magnets or anything?
I shouldn't be yawning. Apparently, it's supposed to give me all this
I
energy.
think we had a lot. I think we had quite a few.
Yeah, more.
a lot smoother than I would be.
Because stuff got damaged by winds Friday.
It felt
Well, I still-
bad. And we go in there.
They get to go.
There are people.
Yeah.
Who did it really?
Yeah, most likely.
Checks them.
And
Yeah, yeah, you make it so much money.
So the hard part is if I don't small,
No, good.
Yeah.
So I think we had a good turnout.
the cancer
I
percent,
just think they took the blood pressure.
and they get to go down to the sheriff.
It seemed bigger than it has been in a while too.
You know, because
151 over 90 something.
Right.
Holy.
I don't.
Because I
it's a
know
really easy way to
We gotta figure out a better way.
I had one of those. Yeah.
Sure.
3 plus.
Sure.
A lot of well,
She
you know,
couldn't have
people can't
to get napkins and stuff.
During the
Oh,
fire off.
good. Yourself?
Good thing.
Well,
Turns in.
Graduation?
One step at a time, right?
As old as time in that.
It is.
time frame wise,
Yeah, it's been kind of like a breath, you know. Then this board is so point, you're like,
you know,
Wait until
Especially when they
you
don't.
might be able
you get away from me this fall.
no attention. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting enough.
You don't get the same
regardless of
would be nice.
way.
Thing would
You know,
plan about.
it would be fun.
Needless to say, and I guess
Years ago,
it's probably something about the best is he's very comfortable in that house.
Yes.
so
I love it though. I love the boys are that way.
wonder what it would
Both places.
made
We
allegations
are in place.
that were false. Trooper
I
went
already signed it.
Two?
and
Oh.
you got a
Already done. You're it.
Is there only
Nice.
There's only two.
favor of the.
Payroll.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the way to do it nowadays.
And we're done with this.
File a libel suit.
cut it four?
Plan, whatever.
Like last time it was eight. You did say because we're going on vacation.
Thunder.
Like
Oh, so that's the
doing them great.
Slander's verbal, is that right?
Fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's got
We're continuing to
Go that
You
far.
get like that.
Stand the
That's a
two.
good sign. You know the answer to that.
On the 3-on-3.
That's the big
Pushes
do it.
Yeah.
Did you do an update on the 3-on-3 last
Get it. I
weekend?
try to figure out that much
Thank
detail. I'm usually sitting
Yeah.
for
I,
5
I
minutes.
didn't want. I didn't want.
My guy.
couple days.
Cost
We're just gonna stay in Miami and then come back.
$1,500 an hour.
oh fun.
I don't have that.
Fun. I'm super excited to be town.
Just-
I need it. I'm
What's the complaint process?
especially for Mark. That's
guys-
really what
I
I
am the complaint process.
You guys got a pretty robust,
Well, I want to talk to Matt.
to Miami for a few days and then go to
pretty robust policy
Yeah,
there.
it's pretty casual.
Oh.
Casual.
because we're getting together. Two of our
You know.
other kids are meeting us in South Carolina,
Oh, really?
and so
That'll be fun.
Ted was like, "Well, if we're flying into Orlando, let's take to Key West." The southernmost point. Last summer we were.
Did I see a truck at your house the other day?
I haven't been to Key West. My dad was telling me that it's beautiful, but it kind of
Air conditioning? No. Was something going on at your house? Yeah.
Difficult it can be. How intimidating.
yes, plumbing.
I thought that's what it was. Because everybody gets excited when you.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's all.
Make a memory.
You're important. Maybe there's a few things we can learn to soften the problem.
Do you leave?
We don't have.
Yes.
Right on the red eye.
Would it be nice if we just got rid of ours and you wouldn't have to be here? Oh,
It's gonna chill.
Still miss the dog.
okay.
We all do.
Good for some.
You guys realize
That's right.
And that's how.
and they're like, "Oh, so we don't want to do a park?"
Yeah.
No.
You do a
At
hike
least the day.
with myself.
But
Kind of-
No.
Yeah.
daughter-in-law's parents live in Charleston. And my daughter.
So do we have a replacement?
We've never met them.
That's even
They're
better.
coming For a few days. It's
That's
Oh.
no. You can go out and see things
Is that any
to
different?
do.
And the meeting will come to order. Let the record show that by golly, everybody is here tonight. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, as usual, we are recording tonight's meeting. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we've added item 3B. It's going to be making an actual presentation to you, talking about his report and the numbers and what they've done, but also give you an update on the draft scope of work for the comp plan update that we've been talking about. Also received information today, so we'll be adding items some information from the county today regarding the roundabout at Nat Washington Way and SR 282. And if you didn't notice at the end, we're going to have a short executive session.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ray. Public comment. It's all yours, Megan.
My name is Megan Higgy, and I'm here for the senior parent team. And we were drafting a letter of thanks and appreciation to the council, and I was reminded of the public comment form, and I had forgotten that since I'm not accustomed to coming to council meetings. So we decided that it would be best if we just came and thanked you for participating and partnering with us this year for our senior parent team. And just the allowances that you made for us for both city permitting and also just the support that we got from the city. We think that our events went really well for the most part. We had a couple of hiccups, which we will be addressing going forward next year and making some good recommendations to the following teams. But for what we set out to do, and the goal was to provide a safe place for the kids to gather, and they stayed. We had 150 kids there at Rock Park and Pita Pit the night of graduation, and the better part of all of them stayed the entire night. So we were really pleased with the attendance and the facilities. Big shout out to Josh and Gunnar. Congratulations. Baby. For just the help with the permits and getting everything set. The city guys who came out who helped with our fencing were fantastic. And just really efficient. In fact, I think they did us a solid the next morning because they were up before us to check the park. And so they may have cleaned up a bit after us because it was dark when we left. So we just want to thank you guys. We want to thank you for finding a way to partner with us and to be part of celebrating the seniors and the grads. And our hope going forward is to make some good recommendations to the next team. We will advise them to come early to the council. We will advise them to come with specific asks and to just seek to continue the partnership and to continue the participation of the council with the graduates to be able to celebrate them. We're going to do a little forward work with the police department to better our expectations and our guidelines for the students who are participating in the parade, because a few things got away from us that we weren't prepared. We have this sweet little window of opportunity to address the graduating class as the senior parent team, and that would have been a great place if I was thinking ahead of time to be very specific about guidelines and whatnot for that parade. We could have done our very best to equip those kids to make the best choices possible. Kids are going to be kids, and I would I would have done a better job to prepare them to be part of that parade so that the police department would have been more pleased. Okay. Officer Froas and Marty were fantastic, and they were very generous and very gracious. So I think a lot of the correction, or at least the guidelines we tried to put in place in the moment, kind of probably passed in one ear and out the other. So we will look to do that better. But I just wanted to thank you and take an opportunity in person to let you know how much we appreciated the support. And we hope that that can be an ongoing just support and partnership. I can tell you from my experience, my parents were here, and this was the first time they've been here for a whole grad week. And they were so pleased with the grad pictures in the business windows. And they were down at the parade and just remarked that this only happens in small towns. This kind of support and this kind of celebration only. They're from Reno, 400,000 people. That's not happening there. So it was really special. And so we just want to thank you for your time and to give you a little bit of feedback that it was successful, we believe. And so thank you for being part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
I
Opposed? So moved. Agency reports, Mr. Ron. Become a habit.
Hello, thank you. Like Ray said, I'm going to break this into two parts. The first part being running through the agency report, and then the second part going through that SCJ scope of work. So in the community development monthly report, the first page, the building department section, what we wanted to do was put together, a good layout of what information, at least what information matters to us. When somebody is asking how things are moving and changing. What we did, we separated out the permits by category for building permits. And the first two columns beyond that were the last 2 months of the complete months, which this has nothing to do with that. Then we did a year-to-date section, then the total for the last year, and then a 5-year annual average. For the most part, we are staying pretty close to that 5-year average. This year, though, well, actually last year though was a little little higher than normal because we did have a lot of new development. The one that more the bigger change was we had 7 8-unit apartments that went in on a single lot. And also a hotel. With those, our numbers are a little skewed on that. If you see on that 2004 at the end of the year, it was a $664,000 in fees collected, 22 million in actual value. So that's where that was. And then we're keeping pretty consistent on the permit numbers per year. However, if you were to look at the last 20 years on this, you would see that these numbers are a whole lot better than what we were 20, 15, even 12 years ago. These numbers are we are growing. We are keeping busy. Bill is very busy and always working on new projects. Some of the developments of note. The one big one that we have been working on for about it's going on a year now, is a comprehensive plan amendment and rezone. It's the land that's directly south of More Furniture. It's the mobile home park and concrete block building to the south of that. They came in and wanted to go through it. They wanted to reuse that concrete building that's on the south end of that property as it had been in the past. It was at one point a apartment building. I think about three or so units in it. When we updated our code, and actually this was probably 20 years ago when the code changed, we removed apartments from most of the commercial designations. So in our most recent comp plan update and development regs zoning code update, we we did put in a new provision where if the base floor was commercial, you could have the residential above. So through this year, it went back and forth, and we had a bunch of issues with not understanding. We were looking for a way to make it work. That was the only option. They originally come in and wanted to do a full rezone to residential, something that the staff could not support. So we went through that process, and finally they came around and decided, this is the best way to go forward with it. So actually next week is going to be the first public hearing on that before Planning Commission. So we are moving that forward. The next thing that has an effect on building permits is that Desert Plains subdivision. It's a 329 lot subdivision on the northeast section of town. They are just about to full build out of that first phase, which is about 45 lots. They will be coming in. I'm expecting them to be coming in soon to go for that next phase, which will then cause or create some significant modifications. They will have to put in a lift station and quite a few other things. So that'll be the next thing. And then the Microtel Inn, a hotel up by Walmart, that we did finally issue the building permits for that. They are working currently on developing that road and the infrastructure associated with that. They do have the okay to do the non-combustible materials up there. At this point, they can do the foundation work and site work, but they will need to have the hydrants and fire requirements in place prior to any combustibles be on site. So that's where that is. The next section, the planning section, you'll see on that over the years we have had really low changes. In the last year, though, the last 2 years, right now we're already nearly even with last year, which were unusual. We had 4 code amendments, 4 subdivisions last year. We already are at 3 subdivisions this year, 3 variances, binding site plan. So we are moving forward. Things are changing. It's a very cyclical process, but we are seeing significant changes. And just for example, we did approve a preliminary for a short plat of 9 lots in February of this year, and then two major subdivisions, one 36 lots, 181 lots. That went before the hearing examiner. Something that you'll only be able to see in these reports anymore because the subdivisions aren't coming before Planning Commission. They are now all going before the hearing examiner, which is cleaner and faster. And they don't have to go through Planning Commission and City Council. So the next thing I will ask if any of you have any people that might be interested in being on the Planning Commission. I would ask that you consider recommending them to send a letter in and join. We are still, and we have for probably the last year and a half, 2 years, been short by 1.
So how many are on the commission?
It's a board of 5. We currently have 4. So, and then the last other thing, planning wise, is we are also working in tandem with that comp plan amendment for the site specific rezone and overlay designation. We are working on the capital facilities plan update, the 20-year plan. So that will also be coming before you. It should have all the information that's back here. We're updating it with all those items and anything else that staff has found that should be included. And then jumping to code enforcement, we are still doing code enforcement. You know, we have not hired that new person yet. We have the job description out, being reviewed by staff. Once that's done, hopefully we can get moving forward, because we are still currently only doing as submitted violations. You know, we're not actively going out and looking for violations. So that is something that we really need to move forward on. And then we are still working on other projects. There's an accessory dwelling unit standard, a new standard that's part of the recent legislation through the state. Hopefully, we will get there. That will actually probably end up being just part of the periodic update. But there has been several people that have asked to move that forward. So if we have the time in it and staff to do that, we will try. And then one additional, we have a railway estate subdivision, a 51 lot subdivision, that has been kind of bouncing around in limbo for over a year now. It essentially has fallen off the grid because they could not complete the requirements. They need two access points. They only provided a single access point, and once you get over 30 lots, they are required to get to that additional amount. So then, moving to the comp plan update, I do have, and I will hand these out. These are the scope of work that we that talked about at the last meeting. However, this one is a little bit more complete. After talking with staff, with the mayor, and with the consultant, we decided that it was probably better to not just do the traffic and park impact fees. That we are going to be in the middle of doing. We are in the middle of that periodic update, which a lot of the work that will be part of that will be supporting the impact fees and the climate resiliency section. So we, after talking with the Aaron with SCJ Alliance, we decided it was best to go with look at this entire project, the comp plan amendment, or the periodic update, the climate resiliency element update, and the impact fees. So what you see now does have a plan for the next 2.5 years. We want to get everything included in there. There is in this list, that they do have the list of tasks that they're going to be doing, the deliverables. There is they have the timeline associated. They have the budget. So and it is looking, we will a couple things with that. We do have budgeted $125,000 this year for the impact fees, and the plan is to do an additional $125,000 next year. We will be getting. We have applied for the climate resiliency grant through the state. That is $150,000, and it appears that we will be getting that it should not be an issue. Then we also have the additional periodic update grant, which is $125,000. So by combining all these together, we'll get a better product. We won't have to duplicate the effort of compiling data and all that. So Aaron will be here at the next meeting to discuss. Our plan also was to include additional public participation and council participation. So it is a significant project, and it will be the next 2 years. It will keep them busy and us. So if you have any thoughts or comments.
Under the downtown floodplain plan, what's the scope of that starting in the end of this year and then going into next year?
We're at this point we're looking, you know, that's part of what we'll be working on with these parts of the council participate.
Sure.
You know, we don't know what we can do at this point. You know, Dave Brand, our project engineer, he also is looking into this. So we're wanting to find out what best, and we're gonna, you know, with this money and part of that climate resiliency, you know, any of the critical areas would fall under that project scope. So we'll be able to move forward with that and actually spend some money and get some hard changes, hard updates to and find out where we can go. Yeah,
cool.
We'll finally have a true study that tells us what is doable and what will never happen, I guess, because it is federally mandated. You know, we are very limited.
Right.
On what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
A question on your Desert Plain subdivision. There's a note in here that said the developers recently asked for staff to consider variances for side yard setbacks and corner lots and park improvement fee waivers. Is that new, or is that kind of the same thing that was originally when they filed it?
No, that was new. It's been a while. They have had another request for a variance to the front yard setback. It's essentially becoming a problem. And when that was adopted, when we agreed to that development agreement, those were those standards. So I have the authority to go 25% of the value before it becomes a true variance.
Okay.
But they do have to justify it. In a case like this, it was not intended to be an easy way out. You know, they do have to justify it, and they, you know, this at least the second or third time. In the past couple times, they were because there was a miscommunication or something else. In this case, they just wanted to be closer. And
that's for the fencing stuff. What about for the parks? Is that something that they're considering still trying to waive, or are they actually going to implement some green space in that northeast section?
They, I believe the development agreement only included the $1,800 per lot.
Oh, so it was prior to some of the changes we made.
So they are not required.
Where we are.
The developer has the option to either build the park space or do the fee in lieu, and they opted to do the fee in lieu.
Is our fee in lieu still today is 1,800? I know we've talked about that, but I can't remember if we ever amended that. Not yet.
No, and it would be part of the
Original. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then my other question was on hearing examiners. I remember talking about this originally and the change in them approving things. How does the process work differently? I'm assuming all of the recommendations and things still have to come from city staff as to we still have the appropriate infrastructure prior to approval. So that doesn't change anything.
It's the benefit of having that third party neutral who's also a legal professional making the decisions. It's actually a significant liability reduction for the city, and having that hearing examiner be the deciding body rather than, just commissions. There's like the city of Spokane has had multi-million-dollar lawsuits because of issues with their council approving subdivisions. So it's been the trend to avoid that process and just go to that more streamlined individual trained professional to be issuing those.
So I'm assuming their role then is to check to be sure we have all the boxes checked and things like that, so we don't end up in some sort of liability situation.
Yeah. So again, it's a
different
party.
Yeah,
so
okay.
The applicant would have their application and be the proponent of the project. The staff would be doing their review and submitting a staff report. And then correct, it's the hearing examiner reviewing all the materials submitted and ensuring that the project is compliant with the code.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. In your report, you had three railroad crossing proposals. Okay. What does that look like? I mean, is that something that's we can actually we're moving forward with, or because I know the Burlington Northern said, yeah, you can have another crossing, but you have to get rid of one of the ones the existing ones, and so.
I think we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, so am I ahead of okay.
Yeah, we're the Quadco UPWP grant application.
Okay.
Talk about that in some detail.
Okay. Disregard.
Any other questions? Oh, probably a whole bunch of other questions that'll come up later. Thanks, Ron. And maybe Josh, just a quick update on the 3-on-3 and Sage.
Yeah, we had the 3-on-3 tournament this last weekend during the Sage and Sun Festival. So we had 38 teams, 6 divisions, and 6 courts. I think it went pretty well. I think there was about 140 participants, but when I went around and tried to do the count, we had just under 500 people there, strictly just for the 3-on-3. And I think both the chamber did a great job putting on the Sage and Sun Festival, adding vendors this year and making a really cool parade. And I think it was a bigger parade than they did last year.
Yeah.
I think we helped each other out really well by all those extra people. I mean, when the parade started and when we were moving the hoops out of the way, because I think 70% of the teams were from out of town, so they didn't really, they're like, oh, there's a parade going on right now. So they just kind of hung out and stayed and got lunch during the break between games and went explored the rest of the festival and did some fun stuff. So I think it was a good first turnout. And without the high school teams, since they had that big high school boys basketball tournament, I think 38 teams was a pretty good number for our first go at it, and hopefully double it next year. And Gunnar and I took some notes on some stuff that we can change and move forward. And public works guys did a great job helping us out. It was kind of a pain in the butt moving the hoops on Saturday before the parade and then moving them back with all the people around, but it went great. It was awesome. It was fun. It was good to see the community come out, and even just people that were going to the festival were like, oh, there's the men's division courts right here, and they stayed and watched a game or watched 10 minutes of the game or stuff. So
yeah, I agree. I think public perception of it went real well. I've heard very little negative all the way down from police to public works. It was very positive.
Turnout was incredible this year, both on the basketball side and just the number of people that stayed for all night.
Yeah.
It was really great. So really fun to see. And the parade was awesome. Everybody was from out of town and locals and even family, which is where you get a lot of complaints.
I think the change,
Nobody had anything negative to say.
I think the change in the layout by putting all the food together and having kind of a food court with tables really, really helped, especially the location being closer to where you guys were doing basketball.
Yeah.
And then having the beer garden on the lawn. I haven't heard any feedback yet from the courthouse on how that went, but we can make it a little bit bigger, but I think it was a lot better to have that on the grass. So other than cleanup, but everything else seemed to go really well. So we had about,
a lot of people.
I think there was about 8 more vendors was all really this time. So it wasn't a huge number more, but we had more food for sure.
Yeah.
So
Most of them were from our area too, which was kind of fun to see. So yeah, a lot of really positive things. So great job to the chamber and to Josh and your team. It was really cool.
All right, great. Thanks, Josh. Anything else from the agency reports, updates, or anything? Good to go. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 2539 Spyglass Agreement.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. So what we have here is Spyglass is a telecommunications auditing company. So we used them back in 2017. What they do is they kind of go through all of our phone bills, our IT bills, everything of that sort. And they check and make sure that we're getting the right taxes and the right payments. We're not double paying anything. So in 2017, we saved around $2,000 yearly, and we had $840 in federal tax savings. It's no fee to us unless they find something. Then they outline it's a 50% fee if they just are overbilling us. And then if we're eliminating a service, such as we're paying 2 phone bills for one person, then it's 12 times that monthly fee. So overall, savings would be larger, might be a little bit of an upfront cost, but there would be a long-term savings there. And that's only if they find something. I have been auditing everything as I go through it. I'm not auditing fully. I'm not focused. It's not my job to sit down and spend it 3 months auditing. They would be focused on it, go through it. Do we need it? Absolutely. No. Would it be nice to just see where we're sitting? I think so. And the cost is only if they find stuff. So best case scenario, there's no cost and we're not overpaying on anything.
All right. Questions?
I had a question, but you kind of answered it on the 50% and then the 12 times. Like, is there anything that strikes you that is going to be a big loss or anything for us?
The only thing that I could see, which I've already caught one, is if we are paying, there could be a phone line somewhere that we're paying for that we're not using. And they can actually go in and they can see how much we're using items, which our phone company could do that too. I just haven't called and said, please do a full audit.
Sure.
So they'll look through if they find something like that. Now we could have not been using it for 10 or since the 2017. We will have that upfront cost of a year, but then we'll save for the next 20 years.
And it's only the 12 times is only like
it's like a 1 year trip service. None of our bills that we're looking at are that high in the first place for one time, so it's not a huge concern. We can also wait and have them have the agreement and then not have them do it till the new year, and we can budget for it as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion to accept resolution 2539, the Spyglass agreement.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Resolution 2541, the Provident policy.
Evening, councilors. Thank you. The purpose of this RC is to present an agreement with Provident Insurance. We have had Provident Insurance before under a FEMA SAFER grant for recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters. And we had that policy from 2010 to 2012. Because of budget constraints back then, we never renewed this, but this is an additional insured policy for volunteer firefighters and the rest of the paid staff at the fire department. Where it covers that gap. If a firefighter were injured, they have coverage through the Board of Volunteer Firefighters, which is similar to Labor and Industries in Washington State, but this provides an additional insured to cover a gap. Those individuals were injured and could not work at their regular place of employment. It does cover a death and dismemberment policy, and it's only under covered fire department activities. So fire response, fire training, and then some of our other activities. I mean, participation in Sage and Sun, other high school events that we all the way to touch a truck. If Misty were to fall and be injured, she's even covered on that as well as an additional insured. This is a tool that's used by a lot of fire departments across the state. It's just another bonus we're trying to provide volunteer firefighters to encourage their participation without having to worry about the potential loss of income if they were injured on a fire training exercise.
Kind of our way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
And everything that goes on. Okay. Is there a cost to this?
We budgeted $10,000 in the 2025 budget, and I believe it's under $8,000. It's a quote So there's a little bit of plus or minus when we do get the final agreement with them. It's signed on the dotted line, but it should be relatively close, I think, to this. 66 comes to mind.
69.50. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Questions?
I have just a comment. First, I commend you, and I've commended you in the past. We are very, very fortunate to have the volunteer fire department that we do have in this city, and I attribute most of that to Jeremy and his ability to draw quality people and retain them. I personally think that this is just a small token of appreciation for the sacrifices that all your people do on a day-to-day basis for us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We are very blessed right now.
Any other questions, comments? Need a motion to accept resolution 2541, the Provident policy?
So moved.
Thanks, Mike. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathleen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Resolution 2543, the Quad Code UPWP grant application.
So, Mayor, Council, what you have for you is I guess we're requesting to apply for a grant through our regionalization Quad Code. UPWP money that every year that can fund planning projects, and this is, we're looking to kind of, there's always been talk of a second or another railroad crossing up to the north part of town. And this would look at all the options and how it would tie into having a north-south arterial for traffic to flow through there. So the way that's presented here is it does have a 15% match. That's not required. It improves our chances, but there's been several years where they don't even get enough applications to obligate all the money. So, but to have a financial commitment, we have to bring it to council. So basically, I can answer any questions, but the biggest one is, do you want us to go ahead and do the match, which comes out to $7,500, I believe, or do you want us to just go and ask for the full $50,000 for the grant?
So basically there's two options, either with the match or not with the match.
Correct.
The request.
There would also be the option of just saying no. Like, we don't want to do this right now, right? Always an option.
Or you can tell us to do all kinds of different things.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's getting late. Huh.
But what you're saying is that we have a better opportunity to get the full 50,000 if we are willing to.
Not knowing how many applications they have, it could be more competitive, and if it's more competitive, then the match chances should rank as higher.
But at the same token, if there isn't enough, then even though we commit that $7,500, we may not have to pay it.
Potentially, yep.
If we don't get it, we wouldn't have to do it, correct?
What's that?
If we don't get the grant, we wouldn't have to move ahead.
And we would just
Wouldn't be out anything.
generally a 2-year cycle, so we can apply. This is planning well into the future. This is not a project that's going to happen in the next 5-10 years, most likely. But this would at least start narrowing down our options. We've always been told there's never going to be another ground level crossing, but this would actually go through that process to make sure that we get the official no. But that is probably the most financially feasible way to get across the railroad.
So we don't lose the cost for the match if we don't get the grant.
Correct.
Okay. That's kind of the fear on it. So part of that of the result of the grant application is to take a look at the environment and kind of point out what the options are and the potential of what's going on, whether, like Mike was talking, whether we go over the railroad pass or we go underneath, because we're not going to get another crossing. That's a given. So it's either what the cost and the explanation and how to do that versus an underpass. Because, boy, you listen to Dave about this, and there's just a myriad of
how we go across, and then also where we go across. Because tying that in
right
with property owners and seeing where there's interest in. Got to tie into the road. You can't just go over and then get in.
So once you agree to the grant and you get the grant, are you obligated to finish the project, or is it just an evaluation? I mean, let's say we look at all that stuff and we go, oh, we can't do that.
The railroad crossing, this is just a fine document that at least gives us some direction and guidelines and how to move forward.
Okay. All right. Exactly. Okay. Any other questions?
I think it's a great first step to getting something done. We really need this. Some kind of a second, that north-south, I don't want to call it a bypass because we don't want people bypassing Ephrata, but, for the people that live in those neighborhoods where that development's going on, we're going to have to do something to help move that traffic. So
just to get to town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's only one way in and out now.
Right. Exactly.
I have one question. This is on the 2023, it's already on the 2023 comp plan. How long are the comp plans? 7 years? I don't remember how long. Or did they just whenever we want to? Okay. That's what I was going to ask. If we have to do another one in a few years, what happens then? But it sounds like this just kind of carries till we do another one. Is that right? Okay.
It's 20 years typically.
20 years? Wow. Okay. Never mind.
EIP, transportation plan for 6 years.
Oh, that okay. I knew it was limited. Okay.
It is on.
Thank you. That helps.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Need a motion to accept resolution 4523, the Quad Pro grant application.
Which one though?
It's up to you.
Okay, so
Do we want to do the 15% or do you want to just apply blank?
I recommend we do the 15%.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So we are going to pass resolution 2025-43, the grant application with the 15% kicker on the end of it. All right. Need a motion to approve, right? Or are we,
That
was it?
Yes.
All right. Great. We're done.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Still got to dot my i's and cross my t's. Resolution 2545, the professional service agreement with GEO Engineers.
Mayor Council, this request is, we have a well drilling project that's ongoing, and working with the Department of Ecology, you do have to document which layers of basalt you're going through and which aquifers you're taking your water from. And this hires a consultant that specializes in that so that we can make sure we have the information we need to fight the DOE, but present a good case on why we want to do what we want to do as far as the casing installation.
Questions?
And we are requesting the approval be subject to the approval of the attorney because we're sending.
All right, did you get that, Katie? All right. Need a motion to approve 2545 with the agreement with the attorney.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Easy. Items for council consideration, SR 282 and then roundabout.
Yes. See, we got a copy of an email that we received this afternoon, Grant County. We got to place the map also in front of you. Indicating, as they're working on the roundabout, their desired pathway for a detour. Essentially what the county is finding is that it's much more cost effective for them to essentially completely close that intersection down and reroute all of the traffic of SR 82 through Ephrata by a couple of schools and through some neighborhoods. Staff is just digesting this, so we don't have a real recommendation formally for you right now on how to act. But it has piqued our interest enough that we definitely wanted to inform the council that it's a possibility. I don't know if the port has seen this. They're going to be probably interested in it as well.
I've been coordinating with Tom Gaines.
Okay.
On that.
Okay.
Got the information. You're gonna get the support on that.
Okay. Staff initially has at least one, I have one big question, and that is, we looked at, Sean looked up the traffic counts from that intersection. And the last time the state did any was in 2007 at that intersection, at least that they have published on their website.
That's
And it's roughly almost 8,000 vehicles a day. I'm going to assume that's grown by roughly 20%. When we looked at some other traffic counts that were newer along SR 82, that's kind of a, depending on the direction that you're taking the count from, that's kind of a median point is between 20 and 25%. So that's probably an increase of as much as 12,000 vehicles going through our community. Particularly the intersection of Nat Washington Way and A Street, which is the middle school, between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m.
Yeah.
2:30 and 3:30 p.m. could be particularly challenging for our community. So just wanted to make you aware of that. We'll start having some discussions with the county and talking about ways that we can try to mitigate any of the issues we might.
Do we have any idea of when this is supposed to take place?
Yeah, in the email, he puts the dates. You've got a copy of that. He wants it to begin July 21st and be completed September 12th. So the first 3 to 4 weeks of school would be impacted pretty soon.
What's the reasoning for closing 282 between Dodson and, if I'm reading this right, 282 between Dodson and, is that Basin?
No, I think it's just
like this.
Is it a roundabout at the bottom of the hill up to just past Nat Washington Way?
But like right here, it says close. Is it going up?
Yeah, there's no.
It's odd they're not routing that traffic to Basin instead of Bay Street. I don't understand that. So it looks to me like it says closed.
Well, there's, remember that's an overpass, so there's no on or off points there.
Oh, so they don't.
So they'll still allow, I believe, local traffic. Looks like to get like to American Rock Products and get out on Dodson. I think that will still be available. But you're seeing a lot of the signage. DOT is pretty particular about what signage has to be placed where. So
I see.
A lot of what you see there, the markings are for signage, not necessarily closure.
I think you would be able to go down A Street and cross the roundabout to get to Dodson Road, but you would not be able to go to the left. So you could still come over the overpass and you're either going to go right or you're going to go left. Now, the local traffic, which would be to the concrete plant and some of the housing that sits up there at the top with Colt Smith and the stuff that's up there, there's Tom was still talking about local traffic accessibility to that.
Sure.
But the rest of it would be completely unusable, basically, most of the way up the highway out to the turn out by the Port District out there. The issue that they were talking about is that the state gave them permission to close both sides of the traffic, east and westbound. If it wasn't, you could close half the traffic and continue to have the traffic moving through there, but that would take another almost 2 months longer to complete the project. So that's why they were looking at shutting the whole thing down for a shorter period of time with a little bit of impact. Part of the issue that we're seeing is when they come down the hill, they'll come in through the port and come out that way and end up coming down Division Street and then by Nat Washington Way. But the problem with that is you've got a railroad crossing and you have street lights at the end of that. So there's a large potential of some real issues as far as backup and inability to access that. And then you've got the school bus issue, which would compound it immensely. So part of our gut reaction on this was, it's probably something we should have sat down and had more of a conversation with everybody that's going to be involved with this, because when Ray talks about the increase in traffic, that's also wear and tear on our community streets, which is a big part. And what's going to happen, as well as I do, that there's some big trucks that come rolling through on on 282, and all of a sudden they're going to be coming down Matt Washington Way or even down Division and A Street and all that, and the impact that that's going to have on our infrastructure here. So there's a lot of questions that are involved with this.
Do we ultimately have say? Seems like maybe it's not our decision. Sounds like maybe it's a DOT decision anyway.
To a degree, I mean,
I'm sure they want to work with the
yeah,
local
Tom,
authority. Yeah.
Tom's been a great partner. Certainly we'll be able to sit down and talk through our concerns and try and figure something out. Yeah.
Let us know what we can do to be supportive.
My bigger concern is just that couple of weeks that could affect school, the intersections we're talking about. Anybody that has a middle schooler that's almost unusable in the morning and the afternoon as is, you turn that into Highway 282 and you might as well close it.
Driving and walking.
You never get in
It's
and
a
out.
chip sealing. Like even with that, like that's gets bad.
Part of it you could redirect coming out of the port and just bring it all down Division Street, which would bring it over the railroad tracks there by just right over here rather than over there to try to get away from the school issue that's over there. That would be, that's another option with that. But that, there's pluses and minuses for all that, because do you go left? Do you go right? Some of the people that are going to be going north, they'll turn off at Soap Lake and that'll be the end of that. And then they'll be off doing that. So that's, and truckers are pretty smart people. So if they're going to Wenatchee or you're hoping that the word gets out quick enough that everybody can kind of reroute and reschedule that. But in the meantime, we have to assume literally the worst case scenarios, take a look at that kind of stuff.
In the past, we've talked about putting up like truck route signs. Maybe timing would be good to do something like that so that they're not trying to make those turns that on Basin where they continue to struggle with traffic already.
Yeah. I believe we
Especially coming off the hill.
signs up in certain places, but they're not very conspicuous.
No, they're very hard to see coming down first. If they're there, I'm not saying they aren't. It could help at least so that they know where to go. That may move some of them out of our way.
Anything else? Keep in mind, if there's nothing else to go on, we're going to move into executive session for RCW 42, discussing real estate. We'll be gone about 15 minutes. Thank you everybody for coming in tonight.
Is she?
Nance Beeson from the Herald.